to travelers, cruisers, and people who love adventure. Welcome back to MJ Dream Travel, your travel community. I am Jen, and I am excited to show you this wonderful video we shot while in San Juan, Puerto Rico on the Carnival Celebration in October of 2023. We have tons of footage, and this is just one of many that will be in the archives. So, to see those other videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you will be notified when we release the new videos. You don't want to miss those, guys. Oh, I can't remember this guy's name, but he was excellent. In San Juan, Puerto Rico, we did a walking tour that ended up at the castle. During this video, he did most of the talking, so you're not going to hear me talk much. But be sure to stay to the end because you're going to see some amazing views when we get to the top of the castle. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video.
Start from the 1800s. They're still around 200 years old. Okay. Every street in San Juan, somewhere in the late 1800s, used to be covered with this cover. These are the originals. You will see some other replicas in the city. The originals are a little bit shiny, very slippery when wet, keep that in mind. And they come in many tones of blue because they are produced with limestone, so it's a limestone brick that is dipped into what is called slag of metal. The slag is a leftover. It's part of metal production, it's not pure metal. But since it's a leftover that is thrown away, there is no recipe for them. It's whatever you have that week, whatever you have that day. And that's why the tones of blue that you will find in the original coverstones is very random and a lot of variations, okay? They're about 6 or 8 inches tall, so they are not like a brick. They're actually like double the size of a brick in altitude. So this is one of the squares of the city. The city has many squares. The squares have the main purpose to unite people, to unite powers, to give opportunity to trade as well. But also squares are where the water is captured. The old city of San Juan was built in this islet. This islet doesn't have fresh water. Don't confuse that with mainland Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico have a lot of fresh water, a lot of rivers, but the islet doesn't. So the design of the city is always considering that they need to capture water. The square, which is called Arturo Somoano Square. Arturo Somoano was a Puerto Rican composer from the 1900s. There is a statue of Arturo right behind this tree, right there. But Arturo is standing where the well used to be. You see this square is capturing water below your feet, underneath the square. This is very normal in the old city. If you're walking in the old city later, after we're finished with the tour, and you go to a restaurant or maybe to a gift shop, and you notice that whenever you're entering, is supposed to be open, was like a patio inside the building. That's the cistern of that building. The residential buildings in this city has cisterns. Not all of them are in use today. Some of them turned into swimming pools. Some of them became wine cellars. But many of them are still in use because they need to capture as much water as they can from the rain since there is no fresh water here in these grounds, okay? That idea will keep repeating. The castles, the fortifications, they all have cisterns, and usually you can identify once you find an inside square, a square inside a building or a patio inside a building like this. That's the water capture of that building. How are we doing so far?
Good.
So far so good? Beautiful. Keep on going this way. Santa Maria sank in Dominican Republic, never made it back. In the square, we have Christopher Columbus, right? And we have 4 plaques around the statue, okay? The one in his left, which is the one behind from the one that we can see, is the first journey. You will see a plaque with 3 ships leaving Spain. In the back, the arrival into the Americas. This is the return back to the Kingdom of Spain, and Christopher Columbus is in the center, showing to the Queen, that is in the right hand side, okay, what they found, the proof of what they found. The kingdom invested only 3 ships. They were not investing too much money, you know, if we compare the power that the kingdom have this time of history. 3 ships was just, hey, let's see what happened. So Christopher Columbus and their crew couldn't just take pictures and send them to the queen, you know. They need to bring the proof to the kingdom. And they brought things. What they brought, what you can see over there, is to the left of the plate. People. What kind of people? Natives, people that were living in this land. There were people living in this land, different social groups in America. For example, north side of America, we have the Apache people, the Apache. A little bit southern, you can see Incas, Mayas, Aztecas, etc. And then in the Caribbean, you see the Caribs and the Taino. The Taino are the people that are Puerto Rican and Dominican, maybe all the way to Haiti, Cuba. And maybe because through archaeological research, we can tell that they have a similar cosmovision, they have the similar kind of art, but they were well organized and they were separating themselves from the Caribs. That's why when they saw these Europeans arrive, they screamed to them Taino. This is the word that we use today to call them. But this is not a word that they use to call themselves. In their language, it means good person or kind. So they were saying, you know, I come in peace, you know. They were not saying, I am Taino, like this is the name that I use to describe my people. No, they were describing themselves as good person or kind. So these people was the proof to the kingdom that it was possible to live. These people also have body decoration that goes from tattoos and paintings to jewelry, like silver or gold. Hey queen, look what they're wearing, look what we can do together. This book can help us grow your empire in the other side, etc., etc. Okay? These are the people that volunteer to go with them. At least this is what they say, that the people volunteer. Okay? So, second voyage of Christopher Columbus is when they came to Puerto Rico, when they officially came to this land. How many ships? Now the kingdom is interested. Now the kingdom is investing. The kingdom got a presentation, you know, from the sailor that find lands in this side. How many ships? Second voyage. There was a second voyage. It's gotta be more than 0.
6?
More than 6.
10?
More than 10.
30.
17.
Wow.
17. I mean, a fleet for late 1400s that is 17 ships is a decently large fleet. My friends, most of the ships were cargo ships. What is the important thing about cargo sail ships? That they cannot sail empty. If they're sending a cargo ship this way, it's bringing stuff, okay? Water was, for example, for the Santa Maria was carrying water more than anything. But in the second voyage, they were bringing things like sugarcane. One of the most important crops in the Caribbean history came in the second journey of Christopher Columbus. Plantains, one of the most important fruits in our cuisine, came also in the second journey of Christopher Columbus. Very, very early in the history. This is 1493. Okay? Any coffee lovers?
Yes.
Coffee lovers? When did coffee arrive to the Americas? I give you a hint. It arrived late in history. No, earlier than that. It arrived in the 17 teens. In the 17 teens. You know, over 200 years after sugarcane, which is, you know, an important element for coffee history as well. Okay? So, we need to understand that Puerto Rico was part of a big trading system of Spain. Oh, my bad. The plaque in front of Christopher Columbus will have the 17 ships, since that was the journey that they came to Puerto Rico. So it's a big trading system. Puerto Rico was part of a bigger picture. When they come here, I'm talking about Spain, they basically go pier hopping from pier to pier. They leave stuff, they take stuff, and this particular stop was considered a safe pier. They invested in Puerto Rico more than in other possible territories in military defenses to make sure that that bay where your ship is protected and secure from enemies, and that way whatever they're taking from this land can always stop here and be secured. The kingdom ordered that no ship leaving the Americas can return to Spain without stopping in Puerto Rico. Okay, so that's why the defenses are so important. That's why it is not just about protecting Puerto Rico, it's about protecting the trading system that was a bigger picture. Okay? How are we doing with that? Okay, now I want to mention that we have 4 castles in the city. 4 castles, by definition, castles. We have many fortresses. I will help you understand that later. But for now, 3 castles are in the other side of the city as water defenses. These are from the 1520s and 1530s. In that period of time, all the way to the 1620s, the city got 3 attacks. 2 of them invaded the city. We were invaded by the enemy twice. Who were the enemy of Spain? England. Pretty much every European country, depending on the time of history, but England attacked here the most, and the Dutch also attacked here. So, 1598, the fleet from George Clifford, this is England power, they disembarked the men that way, away from the old city, away from the water defenses, and in a period of time where we didn't have walls nor this castle. The city was invaded from land. Okay, we were English for a couple of weeks. Okay, why only for a couple of weeks? They didn't follow. Waiting for the truck. They didn't follow the standards to keep the water clean, and they start getting sick with dysentery. Remember that the water is captured in cisterns. No animals were allowed in the fortifications, and apparently these brought horses into the castle. The horses do their thing in the ground, the water falls from the rain, and everything goes to the cistern. So they start getting sick with dysentery. They lost more men by diarrhea than the men that they lost in the actual battle to take the city. And Spain just took it back since England was in no position to stay. That's why we were English only for a couple of weeks. It is 1598. 1625, the Dutch bring 17 ships into the bay. They surprised everybody on a very windy day, and they took over the city in less than 2 days. 2 out of 3 castles in that side, again, this thing still didn't exist, they were taken by the Dutch. And the main castle, the main water defense, that's the northeast corner of the city, that castle, which is the last thing that you're going to see leaving the city, was holding the only and last line of defense. The governor of Puerto Rico with about 300 soldiers. Okay? The city was sieged by the Dutch. They stole whatever they could from the city, and they even burned down the city before leaving. This is the worst attack of the sail history of Puerto Rico, because the enemies took the city for so long that they did basically whatever they wanted to the city. It wasn't taken officially. This wasn't a defeat, because there was a line of defense still holding their position in their defenses. Okay? After that attack, which is the Dutch invasion 1620s, this castle and the walls start to be built. The wall and the castles in this castle took over 100 years to be finished. The system of defense of San Juan, that's fortresses, wall system, castles, over 250 years of construction. The school system of Puerto Rico was changed to English. This is 1890. The Puerto Rican flag and the Puerto Rican national anthem were declared illegal. because it's a new beginning. I can understand that they were trying to make it more official. Oh, you're a territory of the United States, now everything is in English, but nobody speaks English. So people were dropping out from schools, you know. So that was Puerto Rico, the beginning of the 1900s. In the 1940s, 1942, the Commonwealth was officially established, which is our official state and our official relationship with the United States. A couple of meters after the rock, the islet of San Juan ends. Okay? Around that rock is where George Clifford disembarked their men in the land invasion. This is England, 1598. This is the one that got sick with dysentery. So they disembarked somewhere around there and walked into the city. 1797. This is the last attack of the sail history of San Juan. And this was Sir Rolf Abercrombie. This is England again. This time with 60 ships. That's 60, not 16, 60. About 10,000 enemies. They didn't disembark in the islet. They disembarked in the mainland. A little bit more that way. Why all attacks are coming from that side?
That's the coast of San Juan.
Huh?
The left coast of San Juan.
Yes, but not really because of that. Any other guess? Huh?
It can't be seen.
Yes, but it's not because of that. This is sail history. She said the wind. The wind is coming from this side. So the best way to move is with the wind. And besides, that way it's Spain. You know? Or that way is Europe or the old world. So they're coming from that side. And they are disembarking men. For example, Francis Drake was known for disembarking his men and then bringing ships pretty much empty. And people, oh, the ship, the enemies are here. And they move all the defenses to the ship. And their men is already are inland. So he was doing that a lot. He actually tried to do that here and he gets shot around that rock. Okay? So they disembarked their men in the mainland because in 1797 this castle was finished and he wasn't alone. There were other lines of defense, so there were other fortresses in the edge of the islet that way. So yes, when they reached here, they just couldn't disembark in the islet, and that's why they did it in the mainland. In the mainland, there were other neighborhoods developed. Particularly in that area, there was a neighborhood called Barrio Obrero. Barrio is a neighborhood, Obrero is workers. These are free men that used to be slaves. So this community was basically formed by people that used to be slaves. Many of them were slaves from other countries that Spain stole in the conflict. Like, hey, I just attacked you, I'm going to take your slaves now. And they were allowed to live there as long as they work, and they basically were the responsible to many of the farm industries in this area, including the production of materials for the railroad system. These people were allowed to live there as long as they work and as long as they defend the city if it comes to that. And it came to that. These were the first and only line of defense that we needed to push away the enemies that were disembarking there. You see, after they disembarked their men there trying to invade from land, the resistance from that line of defense and the people in the mainland was enough for these 10,000. So, in the biggest attack of the sail history of San Juan, like the islet, never saw an enemy. So this castle never really saw the battle that it deserved when it was in the best moment of history. It was finished in the late 1700s, the same period where it was this attack. But after the late 1700s, fortifications like this one start becoming more and more useless or more and more obsolete. You see, weapon technology is evolving, strategy is evolving. Eventually you have airborne weapons, so you know it's not about ships or land anymore, it's about the air. So big walls in terms of strategy start becoming lower and lower and lower. Where we can see that in the best example, World War I. What we see in World War I, instead of walls, trenches. We go down because weapons now have explosive, you know, it's keeping evolving. So sadly, this castle never had the battle that it deserved in the best moment of history. They tried, but they couldn't even see it. Okay? So this castle is a line of defense with 7 different layers. Okay? So it's not like this, it's like this. You have many layers and it starts here. So the grass area that we are going to see, many of it, not the whole thing, but many of it has tunnels underneath. Tunnels designed to appear behind enemy lines. Tunnels to move around so you will never be spotted by the enemies. And a couple of tunnels that are designed to blow up the enemy because the enemies are coming in top of the tunnel and you can blow up from underneath the tunnel. They will never see you coming and basically it's collapsing the ground. So it's a huge trap. Again, they never reached here. So the thing's still there because they never needed to use it against any enemies. The wall is not a straight line.
I won't be able to see.
The wall has section that is sticking out like this grass area. Those are called bastions. So a bastion gives you a vantage point to shoot, but between bastions you have crossfire. So there's one here, a little bit ahead there's another one. There are like 4 or 5 bastions from here to the other castle. Okay? In the bastions is where you have most of the cannons, but every opening like this V-shaped opening, is where a cannon's supposed to be. Okay? So those openings over there are supposed to be for cannons. Over here we have a sentry box. In español, garita. Es la garita. Garita here, garita there, and garita there. Garitas are watchtowers to look out for enemies, but also a communication system. If an enemy is being spotted that way, maybe the sentry box over there haven't seen it. But these guys see it, send the message there, and then that guy sends the message there, and then that guy, you know what I mean, keeps on going, okay? So maybe the message at the end is not exactly the same. You can imagine, have you played telephone?
Yeah.
More or less the same concept.
60 ships equals 600.
But it works more or less that way. That way, the water defenses in the other side who haven't seen the enemies are going to get the news a couple of minutes before they even see them. Okay? When you see the enemy far, like for example that ship all the way there, they're still hours or even days before they reach here. Okay? So you have time, especially if you can send the message in seconds all around or in minutes all around. Okay? Are we good here?
Yeah.
Let's go into the castle. Here they are.
What? Okay.
Oh, yes. This is a replica of how the troop barracks supposed to look. Nothing, as far as I understand, is original, even though the uniforms are mimicking the original uniform from the 1700s. These are not the real thing, you know what I mean? So the beds, they are not just an example of where they used to be, they were woolen beds like this. Before this, they were sleeping in the ground, so this is like an upgrade for soldiers. They did suffer many changes with the evolution of the understanding of lifestyle and also the evolution of uniforms, etc. For example, first uniforms from the 1500s, wool. These uniforms from the 1700s, cotton. So things were changing, right? One side of the room is supposed to have 12 soldiers, the other side of the room is supposed to. But the tunnel is a line of defense on this wall. You have like an S shape, so you don't see all the way through, and so you cannot shoot all the way through. There's a very long left turn, like this. Okay? So after this turn, it's going to left. This will give the opportunity to the defenders to shoot first, because everybody's supposed to be using a right-handed gun. This curve will allow me to show the gun before I show my body. When you flip the tables and you have the enemies walking in, they also have a right-handed gun. And this curve will force them to use to do this, showing their body before they show their gun. Okay? Doesn't look like much. But for a shootout in a tunnel, that could be the biggest difference between the defenders and the others. In the top of the arch, we have one symbol. This is representing a bomb. This is saying to me that this tunnel is a mine gallery. Okay? A mine gallery, instead of saying mine gallery, which are a bunch of letters, a bunch of symbols, many people didn't know how to read or write. So one symbol. And that's all people need to understand what this means. And it's in this side of the tunnel, not in the other side of the tunnel. You don't want the enemies to know. So every maybe 10 steps, maybe 12, you will see a canal in the wall that goes like a rainbow. Like this deep and like this thick. But this is a weak section of the tunnel. When you blow up the tunnel, you are not going up to kill them. If they die, you don't care. You know. But the idea is to collapse a section of the tunnel, blocking the entrance of the enemy. Okay? So the mine gallery here was designed to block the entrance more than to kill the enemy. The other element in the tunnel is that first, we have artificial light. So today we have a good, more or less, view. Back then it was a lot darker. And second, where you're going to see the lights coming out in the left are about some pockets about this height and about this deep. This pocket will allow me to go in and hide and shoot that way That's why the pockets are only in the left. The same concept of the right-handed gun. The same thing happens for those pockets. Walking that way as an enemy, the pocket is not good for me to go in and to shoot because the gun is a right-handed gun. It's good for the defenders that are shooting that way, that they can go in and shoot and hide again. Okay? Those are the pockets in the left with the lights. There will be one pocket in the right, but it's for a religious figure. It was a statue, so it wasn't empty for sure. Okay? More or less halfway is the tunnel, is the dungeon, and then we return this way. Okay? The outworks are closed. You can reach to the end, but you will find just a view, and then you will be returned. Okay? Then, so big spot for collapsing the tunnel, one here. Pocket for shooting, pocket for stabbing. Another big spot. This is a long left turn elevation. More pocket for shooting, more weak spots to collapse the tunnel.
Interesting.
Dungeon. Go ahead, watch your head, and be careful with the ground is also uneven. Uneven grounds, and watch your head going in.
This way?
Welcome to the dungeon. Watch your head.
Prisoners are held in a room like this.
What was the question? How?
How many?
How many? It depends, but the number could reach to high 20s.
Wow.
So maybe 8 or 9, like this. We are a group of 9, including me. But it was common to see 20 in a year. There were other dungeons in the other castles, and there were other prisons besides the castles. Okay? Okay? But this one is very special. First of all, apparently, this wasn't designed as a dungeon. This tunnel was closed up when the castle evolved, and it was then transformed into the dungeon. But it wasn't built with the intention to be a dungeon. And over here we have some drawings. Look at this. First, drawings in the walls of the castle are not rare. If you pay attention, you will find a couple, especially in level 2. In level 2 you can see many. Okay, soldiers get bored. They get bored and they draw in the walls with bricks usually. These drawings, either they were performed before this was a dungeon, or it was performed by a prisoner with benefits. A prisoner that got a torch that was able to see, and charcoal that was used to draw. A prisoner that was highly educated because he wrote words. Over here we have Carmen. Carmen is the name of a woman. Could be the name of the ship. Could be the name of a love or a child or something like that. Capitan, what is Capitan? Captain. Maybe he was a captain. And over here, mierda. What is mierda? Shit. if we say poop is caca.
Yes.
If we say mierda is shit. So he's telling us that life in the dungeon is a shit. Maybe it have nothing to do with the dungeon. It's unclear exactly when this happened in relationship of who was standing here. Because it could be a prisoner in some point, or it could be a regular soldier in the process of building. Okay? We do have records of people that spend over 20 years in the system of prisons of San Juan. That includes this prison and the other prisons outside. They do get time to go outside, but that could be mostly for working. So it's not recess, it's not like, you go outside. No, you go outside and you're working in the walls or whatever. I mean, that was better. Because
Like
I think,
staying here.
2 minutes we can feel it. Now, nobody move. I want to give you a quick hint of how this looks without the artificial light.
So nobody move.
Nobody move.
Okay.
Stay.
Yeah, because they didn't have last right here.
Whoa. Look at that.
Right.
Yeah.
We are in the middle of the day, so this is how much light can go through that huge, humongous window at the end.
And that's only
Okay.
because we have light over
Can you imagine drying the chips with this light?
No.
This person definitely had the chance. From here. The biggest deposits of limestone. It was known as the bullet wood. It was super strong and turbine steel. So if you enter any old building and you see wood in the roof, usually wood panels like this, that's wood. That's the wood. And those wooden panels are people who do it. The other elements are usually from the limestone deposit that we have.
We had tons of fun, and there are so many things you will see that no other channel will show you. So, once again, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe now.